Let's get a bit more perspective on what's happening in South Sudan. Bring in Lesley Anne Warner is with us from Washington, D.C. She's a security analyst. And with me in studio is ex-child soldier and musician Lam Tungwar. Thank you for coming in and speaking to us. Let me start with the lady. To be fair, we are hearing some pretty disturbing developments, Lesley, about U.S. airplanes being shot at when they're approaching Bor. What do you make of the unfolding security situation to the north of our border?
Thanks for having me on, Larry. So what I would make of the emerging security situation is that the U.S. has been evacuating American citizens all week. Earlier this morning, the embassy reported that they had already evacuated about 450 American citizens, and they had planned for an evacuation of American citizens who were stranded in Bor. As the news has emerged, these 3 U.S. military aircraft were shot upon during their landing in Bor, and as a result, they had to return to Entebbe. And 4 American servicemen were injured and have been evacuated to Kenya for medical treatment.
All right, we'll come back to you in a moment, but I want to find out from you, Lam, you've got a personal angle to this story.
Right.
You left Juba just a day before this whole fighting broke out.
Exactly.
What have you had from home?
Well, the whole situation started building up at a certain point. It wasn't just an abrupt thing that just happened on Sunday. It's like something that I've gone through time. I'm a person who have been getting in touch with the political situation of South Sudan, and I'm very well involved with my politician. I know exactly what are the current developments that are building up. So these things, like a way back after a meeting that was done on a Saturday, which was at National Liberation Council.
Yes.
I think that meeting did not go well, and that's the time I left to Addis Ababa. And result to that, on Sunday night, exactly the incident happened from the misunderstanding that the security guards of the presidential had. And that is the whole thing that triggered the whole situation, and then everything broke out. And the next morning, over a sudden, thing changed after the press conference by the president, and everything just turned into a different thing.
Is your family safe in South Sudan?
No. Most of them entirely are not safe as such. And it's not only my family alone. From all the different group of walk of life or the tribe in South Sudan, most of them are all in the United Nations right now, or most of them are either in the military base or run away to the neighboring countries. And personally, I've lost some people as well.
You've lost a few brothers?
3 brothers.
You've lost 3 brothers?
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about that. So this is turning into an ethnic conflict between the Dinka and the Nuer. Was this always going to end up like this?
Well, you know, the angle that my leaders have taken is they took it through a lot of emotions, which actually triggered the whole thing. And the people who are holding the guns, who are implementing the security, misunderstood the whole thing, and they end up into branching into a different way. It's not, I could not call it an ethnic problem, but whatever happened on Monday and Sunday and Tuesday itself was something that is like, I definitely condemn the whole thing, because it's not something that is acceptable.
Right.
Killing individuals and killing people from a specific tribes or from majority from one side could be quoted as it is now tribal line, but exactly for my own understanding, it is those emotions that are implemented by wrong guys in the army who actually went to implement those things.
Lesley, this has been debated since this happened on Sunday. Was this really a coup?
I would not call this a coup at all. It seems like, again, it's a political dispute that has gotten out of control, largely due to the aggressive rhetoric at the outset of the conflict of the government of South Sudan. Even look at President Kiir putting on, swapping out his trademark suit and cowboy hat for military fatigues in the press conference on Monday, and referring to Riek Machar as the prophet of doom, and referring to his very divisive role in the 1990s when he split from the SPLA.
So what happens now? Because this appears to be the country disintegrating right before our eyes.
Well, what happens now largely depends on, it sounds like it depends on what Riek Machar's next move is. He has publicly, as of this morning, been declaring that Peter Gudet and another rebel commander in Unity State are under his command, whereas previously he had first said that he wasn't involved, and then he had said, well, these people are doing the right things, and he'd called upon the SPLM, SPLA to overthrow Salva Kiir, and then he's now transitioned to, as of quite recently, calling for their overthrow. And so you see through the course of the week, this increasingly aggressive rhetoric coming from Riek Machar.
While that is happening, the region is scampering to try and do something. Kenya sent a team there, but specifically the Ugandan military is coming into South Sudan as well. What does this mean exactly?
That is also to be determined. I'm concerned about the Ugandan military deployment just because Uganda had been a supporter of the SPLA during, they were a very important supporter after the fall of the Derg regime in 1991. And after the SPLA was unable to get support from Ethiopia, they were able to get support from Uganda. So there's long-term relationships there. And so Uganda is unlikely to be perceived as a neutral broker or a neutral player in this sort of situation.
Right. What can the military, what can rather the region do in this situation, Lam, as a South Sudanese?
Well, on my point of view, we are getting this wrongly completely. As you said, it's getting into tribal, and it's going to be more worse and more worse. And as young people and as the leaders of the country itself, we actually look at how ourselves can solve the problem. Sending a lot of people from the United Nations to go and actually intervene, they will use the higher level of the politician and start talking to them on the table. But a common man around the village or in the states who does nothing to do with whatever political agenda is going on, they don't even read the news, they don't even see anything, does not know exactly what is taking place. And for me, my point of view is that this important message should be taken to those people on the ground who are holding guns, which are not even registered, and they have a hard feeling, they have grief. Some people have lost people.
Yes.
And that's why when you see the majority of people who are killed on Monday, wake of Monday and Tuesday, were a lot of Nuer. And definitely just pick it up that this is now a Nuer and Denka problem. And it's going to escalate from one place to the other. And right now, the United Nations or the community of international law need to intervene. Even Kenyan, who have actually facilitated this until our independence, should go to those areas and send this politician to those people on the ground and tell them exactly the twist in this is not like this. It's supposed to go this way and it's supposed to go this way, and that's the only way to resolve the problem. Otherwise, they'll bring them on the table while people are dying on the ground. So it's not the solution that they should just bring these people on the table, but they should first go and lock down the state in a very manner that people need to accept that something have gone wrong in the wake of Monday and Tuesday, and we accept our grievances, and the government need to feel sorry and condemn the whole thing first so that people can feel a little relief. Otherwise, there's a lot of anger from any side.
Lesley, not to ask you to speculate, but in your mind, as a security consultant and expert, how do you solve this situation? It's a political situation, but obviously also a security nightmare.
This is inherently a political crisis that has been on steroids. I think largely, in my opinion, due to the mismanagement of information by the government of South Sudan. I think that the messaging has not been as moderate as it could have been. And so it's now very difficult to walk back from that ethnic conflict line that the country seems to be veering towards. And so, yes, political mediation is an option, but the problem I see is that there needs to be military credibility either from regional states or within South Sudan to be able to guarantee security for ethnic groups that are being targeted as a result of this violence.
Because the problem here is that not too far from South Sudan is Somalia, which hasn't had a functioning government for 20 years. And when South Sudan starts to erupt, people start to draw parallels.
Yes, that's possible, although I think that it's important to make the distinction between the clashes that happened in the capital city of Juba earlier this week and the clashes that are going on in the periphery at the end of the week. I was more concerned about the clashes in Juba because that would take on the attributes of Somalia in the 1990s. However, South Sudan has perpetually had instability in that region, in fact, as recently as 2010, 2011. And so that, in my mind, although an incredible humanitarian crisis, is not necessarily as Somalia, it doesn't make the same reference to Somalia as clashes in Juba would have.
All right. Finally, I've got a few more seconds. Lam, I need to find out from you. What are you hearing from your people, and what would you like to tell them now that they're watching you?
Well, what I'm hearing from my people, a lot of grief and a lot of ready to, escalation of things, and, internet and all this, social media is getting way beyond because everybody is reporting to the other one and the other one is reporting to this. Lies and truth are all combined, and which is really dangerous. And my message is that young people should refrain from all this and try to, observe exactly what they need to do because, armies can fight. Government people with gun can fight, but then civilian when they're involved in, and children, and old people and mothers are being killed is not something that can be accepted. And we need to look at how we need to take this in a peaceful manner possible.
Oren, are you hopeful of going back home soon?
Yes, definitely. That is home, and we must be back at home and resolve our problem. International community cannot only the people to go and cool us down every day. What about this incident happen again? South Sudan should learn from this, and they should take a step by actually understanding and facing the dialogue. Our leaders need to talk. When there is a problem, they need to face the reality and accept the fact that I'm wrong, I'm right, and this is the direction, because they're actually they're deciding on the life of a million of South Sudanese who are everywhere around the world. We don't want to be a refugee again. How many times were we a refugee? Kenyans have a lot of refugee in the past few years before. Uganda, they're all over the United States and America, other places like Australia. We have been everywhere, including Israel and other places.
All right.
So we don't need to go the same route. We need to face the fact. Our leaders need to sit down and know the truth and the wrong.
Lesley, real quick for us, is it in these situations always advisable to stay or to take the exit plan?
My opinion is that it's advisable to take the exit plan. This, of course, does not indicate that whichever country is having its citizens exit means that believes that the situation is going to get worse.
Right.
The key challenge is that, as on Monday and Tuesday, the airport was closed, and so you never know when the window of opportunity is going to close to be able to get out.
Okay. Okay. And do you see your own South Sudanese people also fleeing?
Well, most of them are already leaving. They're leaving.
They also have the opportunity to leave anyway.
They're actually scared, and they have to move out because the bullet does not respect anybody. Whether you are young or old, still you have to find an exit plan, how you get out of the town until things normalize. And
I like that you're optimistic about finding lasting peace there. Thank you so much, Lam Tungwar, for coming to speak to us, and Lesley Anne Warner with us in Washington, D.C. That is the end of this conversation on South Sudan.